In today's news, Governor Jaspert receives reports of intimidation as well as victimization in the BVI, and detained tourists fined $1,000 each for sailing into the BVI illegally.
70th anniversary of the restoration of the legislature remembered. Travelers staying on vessels reminded of quarantine protocols, and Governor thanks public officers for their exceptional service in 2020. All this and more when 284 News returns.
The wind! Oh!
What the hell?
I'm freaking out!
Is time.
284 News.
Coming to you live and direct from the beautiful British Virgin Islands.
What's poppin', what's really good, what's happening, what's up?
Davis has won it for the Lakers!
Welcome everybody. It's Thursday, December 3rd, 2020. A terrific Thursday to each and every one of you. I'm Ron Grant.
And my name is Javon Wilson. So thrilled that you could join us for another edition of 284 News. Now, like you can see, viewers, we are all festive because we're ringing in the Christmas season. And of course, we had to bring a little bit of that joy here at 284 Media. So we want to thank Moline as well as anybody else who assisted with this.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Viewers, there's lots going on in the territory. First of all, today we had a press conference with the governor of the Virgin Islands, so Governor Augustus J.U. Jaspert, and he, I think, made some damning allegations,
Very daunting
Ron,
allegations,
of course,
yes.
based on some allegations and reports reaching his office. The governor said, and I quote, "First, many persons are concerned about transparency when it comes to public projects and funds. The Auditor General has written numerous reports detailing the common problems in this area. Tender waivers, interference, contract splitting, and inflated prices are just a few of the examples. As you know, investigations are ongoing on some of these matters, which I cannot comment on." The governor is also concerned, viewers, with some recommendations made by the Auditor General's office. He's concerned that they're not being taken seriously by the government. He further said, and I quote once again, "The recommendations from the audit reports have not always been actioned and raises concerns that our systems remain vulnerable. I know that many people are troubled by this, particularly in relation to government contracts and the recent stimulus funds. Each concern is exasperated by the fact that details of government spending is not always readily available to the public and our institutions of good governance. Many have asked whether the territory's governance is operating with a level of integrity and fairness that it should, and this question warrants some consideration." End of quote. Now, in addition to that, Ron, in a very detailed press conference, he also spoke to the fact that there is some intimidation and as well as some victimization in the territory. Governor Jaspert said, and I quote, "These have been put to me by a number of individuals in senior positions across the public service, even some in the media industry and in our community. I will not go into specific details as they were shared in confidence, but some have described a growing culture of fear, strong allegations which we cannot brush aside. I want to be clear. No one in this territory should be afraid to raise a concern. It is a constitutional right to have freedom of speech, and everyone should be able to do their job without fear or favor. My office and the Deputy Governor's office is always open to any individual seeking to raise a concern or ask for help. We will put in place a process for those to be shared in confidence." Now, Ron, alarming comments coming out of the governor's office, of course, some of it not new to the public, but certainly something we have to continue to follow because we have heard about the audits. We have heard about the lack of transparency. As a matter of fact, the current government coming into office, prior to coming into office, really campaigned on the need for accountability and transparency. So definitely we'll continue to follow these details.
And of course, the very alarming pleas as it pertains to victimization in persons and businesses and different agencies feeling victimized after speaking up. So definitely we thank Governor Jaspert for raising this awareness, and we continue to wish him the utmost of best as he continues to bring these to light. In addition to that, today the Welcome Center has been launched at the Terrence B. Lettsome International Airport in a grand ceremony. We know that officials were happy to present this to the general public, and also the Pier Park is set to offer valet parking. They initially stated that they're going to have, they've secured 30 parking spaces, and I know because of the severe traffic congestion at the Tortola Pier Park and double parking, this is something that a lot of persons can look forward to, so we'll keep you posted on that. Now, beginning on the local scene, on tomorrow, Friday, December 4th, the House of Assembly will meet in honor of the 70th anniversary of the restoration of the legislator in the Virgin Islands. Now, this was announced in the Government Information Services release. The history of legislator in the British Virgin Islands can be roughly divided into two colonial legislators in the 18th and 19th centuries, followed by a hiatus, then the modern legislator after the reintroduction of democracy on November 20th, 1950. Now, the Civic Leave had previously made representation for a legislative council as early as 1938, and Mr. Howard R. Penn moved a resolution to the Closer Union Conference in 1947 for the restoration of the Legislative Council in the Virgin Islands. In 1949, legislators such as the one and only Mr. Theodore Faulkner, Mr. Isaac Glani Fonseca, and Mr. Carlton de Castro, it was realized that they wish for the Virgin Islands people was to have a representative government that could be changed from time to time, and it would be better suited for the needs of the community. Now, Speaker of the House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands, the Honorable Julian Willock, said in an official comment, and I quote, "While it is true that a legislator did exist for the British Virgin Islands up to 1902, it was not representative of the Virgin Islands people." He continued by saying, "Because of this, we rightfully refer to the year 1950 as the beginning of our legislative history, and I am happy to be a part of such a significant milestone in our young democracy." Now, he concluded, 20 years ago, Premier and Minister of Government Business, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, had an opportunity to contribute as the honorable member of the 50th anniversary, and he wrote, "Democracy is based on the notion that a people should be self-governing, as John Stuart Mill wrote in 1962, in a representative democracy, the legislator acts as the eyes, ears, and voice of the people. The restoration of our legislator was therefore inevitable. We should applaud the efforts of those pioneer legislators, some of whom were not afraid to stand up and demonstrate for the reestablishment of our legislator, and all of whom worked tirelessly to effect change and pave the way for our modern-day legislator system." Now, on Friday, each member of the Fourth House of Assembly will be allowed an opportunity to lend their views and voices towards this great occasion and add on record this celebration of Virgin Islands history. The fourth sitting of the third session of the Fourth House of Assembly is scheduled to begin at 10 a.m. and will be held at Save the Seed Energy Center, of course, and it's going to be available to stream on the House of Assembly Facebook page and YouTube page. Jovan, as we listened to the governor's comments, and now we see we're celebrating 70 years of legislator, one needs to reiterate the purpose of this significant milestone. It was essentially so that the people could have a voice and that the legislators could be the eyes and ears. And I think as daunting as Governor Jasper's comments are, it brings this into full light and fruition, because this is the service of our legislators to make sure that accountability and transparency is there. So I wish that all of the 13 members of the House of Assembly would reflect on this and the milestone as they continue to execute their duties.
And absolutely, I know it will be a spirited discussion
Yes.
for real on the floor tomorrow, the House of Assembly. But really, especially now too, as we're pushing the whole topic of self-governance,
Correct.
even within the constitutional reform that we are currently embarking on, I think we really do have to take stock of all of those things that you just mentioned, Ron, as we propose to move forward with the territory.
Yes.
Now, viewers, the public is advised once again, on the matter of Nicholas Cancro, Mr. John Hines Jr., Lynn Ann Hines, as well as Mrs. Jean McKinnon. These were the four tourists who,
Yes.
of course, were detained in our BVI waters recently, entering illegally. Now, they were apprehended by the Joint Task Force on the 19th of November 2020. Their case was actually heard before the court, the Magistrates Court, at 2 p.m. on December 1st. Now, the accused were charged with illegal entry without permission of an immigration officer, contrary to Section 20, Part 3 of the Immigration Ordinance, Chapter 130 of the laws of the Virgin Islands, which is a strict liability offense. Now, the Crown Counsel, Christian Johnson, represented the case for the prosecution. The accused were represented by Counsel David Penn, who stated to the magistrate court that he did not wish to have the accused plead, and he only wanted the complaints to be read for them to plea at a later date. Now, the complaints were read to the accused by the magistrate, and the Crown outlined the allegations as followed. Now, viewers, on Thursday, the 19th of November 2020, about 1:30 p.m., HM Customs received information of a sailing vessel traveling from St. John, U.S. Virgin Islands, towards Yas Van Dyke. As a result of the report made, the Joint Task Force proceeded to the western side of Yas Van Dyke. At about 2:04 p.m., in the vicinity of Sulphur's Hole at Rung Steel Point, a blue sailing vessel was observed traveling in an easterly direction and was located, which is in the territorial waters, of course, of the Virgin Islands. The captain, Mr. Nicholas Cancro, was accompanied by John Hines, Lynn Hines, as well as Jean McKinnon. Now, when asked where he was coming from, Mr. Cancro replied, and I quote, "We came from St. John, USVI, and was just sailing around," end of quote. Now, viewers, the law enforcement officers then informed the captain that they are in BVI waters and the borders are closed to international vessels. Mr. Cancro, the captain, stated, and I quote, "I know the borders are closed, but we didn't touch land," end of quote. Now, viewers, the captain was then informed that it appeared that he was in the breach of the territory's laws and was guided to the Sulphur's Hole western area. The 4 individuals were then placed into mandatory quarantine in a local hotel as part of the COVID-19 preventative measures. Now, an application for bail was made on the behalf of all the accused. The Crown objected to bail on the basis that the accused persons were not from the territory and they were considered to be flight risks. And then there was a high probability that they would not return to the territory to stand trial, and that there were no conditions that could have been given to the court to ensure that they would attend. Now, the court has also, who has sole jurisdiction, with the granting of bail, made a decision that bail would be denied as there are no suitable conditions to ensure the presence of the accused, that they were deemed flight risks. Now, after this decision was announced, Counsel Penn asked the court for the matter to be stood down so that he may take further instructions from the accused persons. When the court resumed, the accused persons entered a plea to plead guilty and were each subsequently charged a fine of $1,000 each. Now, Ron, $1,000 each is really a far cry from the initial $20,000 we were hearing initially, which I think raised many concerns for persons, not only locally but internationally. But I want to bring to focus a story that has been told on the international scene.
Correct.
This story being that these are American tourists were covered, or one side of it, I should say, was covered on the international media, which could have been very damning for us as a brand, and brand BVI, of course, and to our tourism product, especially now that we have reopened the territory to tourists. And we haven't really had the opportunity. I know persons have said they really wish the government was more forthcoming with a more comprehensive approach as it relates to relaying to the international public. This is not the case. We heard allegations of mistreatment.
Yes.
And so we have to be very careful with responding to these allegations, because while we do feel, I think collectively, that this was a heavy hand down as it relates to a sentence, $20,000 and being detained, we have to also take into consideration that we have to protect ourselves as a territory, and we have to represent ourselves on the regional and international scene.
Well, Jovan, on the matter of representing ourselves on the regional and international scene, it's quite important because, just like you mentioned, the unwanted press garnered by this particular story has caused much concern. Point in case, just recently, I believe it was yesterday, front page of the Daily News in the Virgin Islands warning persons of traveling or meddling or getting into the
As a matter
BVI
of fact,
waters.
they use the term unfriendly waters.
Correct, unfriendly waters. And again, now this is not the first time a story of such has been deemed, to make front page. But at the end of the day, just like you said, we have to be cognizant and aware of our language as it pertains to the regional and international scene. So I'm happy to see this story move
Yes,
forward.
absolutely, viewers, and come to an end, and we could send them back home
Yes.
safely, thankfully. Viewers, still ahead, the governor give thanks to the public officers for exceptional service in 2020, and also our travelers staying on vessels are being reminded of the very strict quarantine protocols. We're laying all those out when 284 News returns.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media at cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back. You're watching 284 News. Continuing on the local scene here in Tortola in the British Virgin Islands, His Excellency the Governor Augustus J.U. Jaspert toured a number of government departments and ministries to thank public officers for their service and, of course, to mark the end of Public Service Week 2020. Now, Governor Jaspert praised the concept and organizers of Public Service Week, which was implemented to celebrate the hard work and commitment of public officers and to provide a range of team building and well-being activities. During one of his visits to a department, the governor said, and I quote, "The year of 2020 has been a challenging one for all of us, and I recognize that we have asked a great deal from our public officers. Many have found themselves in a new team with new roles and new ways of working, but they have shown great flexibility and resilience in rising to the challenge." He also underlined the importance of taking care of one's physical and mental well-being and supporting colleagues to do the same. Deputy Governor of the Virgin Islands, Mr. David Archer Jr., also emphasized the importance of celebrating public officers during such a challenging year. He said, and I quote, "2020 has been a milestone year in terms of the challenges the public service has faced. It has also seen a milestone of the 20th anniversary of celebrating public officers through Public Service Week. I am proud of what public officers have accomplished this year and hope each one knows their work is appreciated. I am proud to lead such an amazing group of officers." Now, the theme for this year's Public Service Week is 20 Years of Resilience, Hope and Celebration, with a range of office-based and virtual activities organized by a team of public officers led by Assistant Secretary Ms. Aisha Hill in the Office of the Deputy Governor. Per the Constitution, of course, the Governor and Deputy Governor are responsible for the leadership of the public service, appointment of public officers. Jovan, we are so happy to see the public officers being celebrated in their hard work. COVID-19 by no means was easy, and we saw where public officers, especially essential workers, just really stepped up to the challenge and really provided exceptional service. And we here at 284 Media would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you guys each on a job well done. Absolutely,
viewers, we have to move right along. Now, the government of the Virgin Islands has officially reopened, as we know, its borders to residents as well as incoming visitors. That was on December 1st. All persons who now arrive in the territory must enter quarantine for a period of 4 complete days. Persons quarantining on an approved vessel, however, must anchor or dock at the approved mooring sites throughout the duration of the mandatory 4-day quarantine. Now, additionally, vessels are allowed restricted movement in the territorial waters among the areas approved for quarantine. And like you just saw on the screen, those are some of the mooring sites, of course. So essentially, Ron, you are able to move around during the day, but they're saying by 6 p.m. daily, you must be docked at one of these approved sites. On the screen, you can see Beniers Bay, Soldier Bay, South Bay, Spring Bay, White Bay, Holovers Bay, Valley Trunk Bay, Long Bay, Malone Bay, George Dog, Lee Bay, Muscatine Bay, Palmetto Point, that's on the west, and we have Mackinac Bay. Now, viewers, the public is also reminded that the vessels must be provisioned before guests arrive and board the vessel. The guests, the entire party, as well as the 30-foot radius around the vessel, which make up your mobile bubble. Yes, okay. That's being referred to as the mobile bubble. So essentially, the mobile bubble will allow guests to swim and enjoy our territory within the specified 30-foot radius of the vessel. Vessels can also visit the list of marine-approved sites in the territory. However, they must be anchored again by 6 p.m. daily and approved mooring site until 5 a.m. of the next day. For more information on that, of course, you can email reopening@bvitourism.com or you can WhatsApp 496-6129. Now, Ron, ahead of the opening of our territory, one of the concerns we had, which wasn't clear up until recently, was whether we would be allowed to receive our marine guests. Of course, the Terrence Bay International Airport was identified as the main priority. However, we do know about the fallout from the marine sector in specific. So I think the government really revisited that idea and made possible. But we have to continue to reiterate, Ron, the protocols, because we have received reports from several tourists coming into the territory, and we've seen some inconsistencies as it relates to the tracing bracelet that works in connection with the geofencing app, of course, the BVI Gateway app. There seems to be some minor concerns, but overall, the main concern is that you remain on board for 4 full days. And in addition to that, we want to ensure that as a territory, we have the ability to monitor these people. So we'll be speaking to the government on that for more details.
Well, Jovan, most importantly, the protocols have while being a bit late, the protocols have become more clear. So persons both on the marine aspect and those coming in by air are much clearer. And to our knowledge, it has not been a seamless process, but it's been going pretty well.
Absolutely, and we have to applaud all the stakeholders a part of that process. We're going to go to another quick commercial break, but when we come back, there's a lot happening. First of all, we have to give thanks. The hurricane season is finally behind us.
Goodbye, hurricane season.
Absolutely. We're speaking to the governor, and as well, Public Service Week culminates with donations to the FSN Food
Great
Pantry.
stuff.
This is a great story. So all the details when 284 News returns.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, like we said before the break, we are now officially over and past the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, and it is quite a sigh of relief for these beautiful Virgin Islands, especially as we pivot our way around through the COVID-19 pandemic as well. Now, this season brought a record-breaking 30 named storms to the region, and a record previously held by the 2005 season, as we can recall, when there were 28 named storms. Now, of the 30 storms this year, 13 developed into hurricanes with winds of 79 miles per hour or greater. Now, while an average season typically brings 2 or 3 major hurricanes, this season brought 5. Now, viewers, we caught up with His Excellency the Governor Augustus J.U. Jaspert at the official reopening ceremony a few days ago at the airport, who shared not only on his excitement to welcome persons back to the territory, but also on the very important passage of this very active hurricane season. So listen in. Viewers, we are live here with the Governor of the Virgin Islands, of course, Governor Augustus J.U. Jaspert, here at the reopening ceremony of the airport as we prepare to welcome guests back to our territory. But before we get into the gist of things, just tell us, how are you feeling about this accomplishment, especially since it's been a really long time coming?
It has been a long time coming, but how am I feeling? I'm delighted. This is a big moment for us as a territory. It's a big moment for those who love our territory and want to come here and want to experience the BVI. But I'm also feeling pleased that we've done it in a way where we protected our safety and our security here and of those who come to visit the BVI as well. So, as I said earlier, the airport, it's not just about opening a building, it's about opening our territory up again. So it's a great pleasure today.
So in your opening remarks today, you mentioned that we are just concluding a very active hurricane season.
Yeah.
Now, just speak to that a little bit more for us, because the BVI, I think more than lots of places, really know how traumatic the season could be. Speak to that experience, just knowing that we were able to get past that this year around.
Yes, well, it's been a busy season, and a busy season when it wasn't just about hurricanes, it was also about COVID and how we deal with that. So I want to say thank you to the public, to businesses, to communities, to voluntary organisations, to our public officers, to DDM, who have kept us safe during this season. It has been one of the most active seasons, and it's a good reminder that we need to be ready always. And we need to always think through the world of just thinking through there's one risk and it'll only happen every 50 years. We've actually got to think, how do we ourselves be resilient all the time? Whether that is from the risk of pandemics, whether it's from hurricanes or whether it's from earthquakes. But the key thing is we are prepared and we are ready and we're able to respond. So I'm pleased we were spared during this season, but I also get through this season confident that we've done the right things to make sure shelters are in place, to make sure that our plans are in place, should we have been affected during this season.
All right, Governor Jasper, thank you so much, of course, for always making it to 8-4 Media, and all the best.
Thank you very much. I'd like to speak to you. Thank you.
You're welcome, viewers. That was the Governor of the Virgin Islands, Governor J.U. Jasper, at the reopening ceremony at the airport. Thank you so much. Now, viewers, the governor also said, and I quote, "While I share in the sense of release that this season spared the territory from any major landfalls, unfortunately, the same is not true for those who received the brunt of systems from Arta back in May to Lota just 2 weeks ago." He said nearly 500 persons lost their lives around the Americas due to flooding and other Atlantic storm-related dangers. And overall, damages this season could top $41 billion. Of course, he sent his sentiments. He said, "Our hearts goes out to all those who were affected by the storms by neighboring Caribbean islands, Central America, as well as the United States of America." Ron, again, we just have to give thanks and praise and
Very
really be
thankful.
grateful, especially since knowing 2 years ago the situation was
much different. Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, culminating today's newscast is a very beautiful story. Of course, members of the public service donated more than 3,000 items towards the Family Support Network's FSN Food Pantry as part of the activities to celebrate and commemorate Public Service Week. Deputy Governor Mr. David Archer Jr. and representatives from the Public Service Week Planning Committee presented the food, hygiene, and other household items to FSN Food Pantry. The manager, Mrs. Deidre Massicot Rivera, and Assistant Food Pantry Manager, Miss Keisha Dawson, on Monday, November 30th. Now, Mr. Archer said he was proud that members of the Public Service Planning Week Committee continued the tradition of charitable elements within the team building and celebration of Public Service Week. He said, and I quote, "We in the public service are extremely happy to support the work of FSN and to help the families that support you." Mr. Archer concluded by saying, "Especially this year, we know that there are many families in need, so it is important that we come together as a community, but also as a public to help." Now, Mrs. Mascot Rivera extended her thanks on behalf of FSN for their support in the organization. She said, "We would like to thank the public service for their efforts and their support of the organization. The supply will be greatly appreciated by our clients, and we thank you so very much." The theme, as was mentioned earlier, for this year's Public Service Week was 20 years of resilience, hope, and celebration, and included plenty of team building and fun activities such as a basketball and domino competition, a daily online quiz, wacky dress and wacky car scavenger hunt, and a virtual trivia competition, a virtual opening ceremony, and a service of praise and thanksgiving kicked off the week. Now, in addition to that, public officers were also recognized in a special thank you video message from all 13 members of the House of Assembly. A virtual ceremony was also held to recognize officers who had attained 10, 25, and 35 years of service, and those retiring as well. Jovan, a beautiful story, and what I like about this story is it joins in with the many other organizations recently, and we're so thankful that the Family Support Network has been getting a much needed support and a voice through platforms such as ourselves, and persons have been coming to the forefront to assist, particularly when it comes to replenishing the food pantry at the facility. We're so happy that public servants were able to do that as well, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Absolutely, and I really hope that the support continues
Yes.
because COVID is nowhere close to coming to an end. We have to continue to reach out, and viewers, it really does still take a village.
Yes.
That is all the time we have for today, but we want to thank you so much for joining us. You can check us out on 284media.com. We're also on Facebook at 284media, 284BVI, and Instagram, on Instagram and Twitter. So viewers, thank you so much once again. My name is Javon Wilson.
And I'm Ron Grant. We will see you tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and international content. Have a happy Thursday. Bye-bye.
Take care.